Press save,
Record.
I assume.
So I'm recording there, got audio here,
Yep.
and I did the set time on
And then
myself.
press save down.
Now I go, what?
Here we go,
Alright.
and then the
Oh.
agenda pops up.
We're gonna start the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Dan's little
Okay.
kickstand.
All right, Matt, we're ready.
All the way in the back.
He looks like they're all present.
Oh, they did?
Don't break it.
No, I broke it for him. Chuck, way to go. There's a little thing there that popped.
Okay.
We ready? Okay, let's call to order the meeting of the Green Bay Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Commission meeting for Monday, April 16th, 2018. Approval of the minutes.
So we have roll call first, so just checking to make sure. It looks to me like we have everyone here,
Okay.
so Barb, present, Brad, Chuck, Dan, and Matt, with Bridget and Ray not being here. All right, now we are ready for,
Approval of the agenda.
So can a person say that, or do I have to, if I want to make a motion, do I have to put something on the screen here?
Gotta have the fast finger first.
Approval of the
yeah,
I think it's, it was at P&W. There, it's-
So then you make a motion, and then you.
Move approval of the agenda?
We want to move one item up for Mark, Alderman Stoyer, if we can.
Oh,
Okay.
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 He's requested that we move item,
okay.
item 6. First,
So approval of the agenda, you said as modified, so in essence, we're taking Alderman Stoyer's item, which
Item six.
is,
So, do
Item
I need to
6.
make an motion to amend the agenda?
yes.
Yes.
I'd like to move to amend the agenda to have item 6 come
Okay.
after.
Motion been made, do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Somebody want to hit approval of the minute, or approval of the agenda then? on there?
Move
Okay, then-
Do we have to
approval.
vote?
Then we have to vote.
Yeah, you could, and then you gotta, and something like this, you can,
Do you see something that
You
says?
So
wanna
you're
vote?
still gonna move to,
yeah, you gotta say yes, or something. You just-
Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the agenda.
So then,
Oh.
Yeah, yes?
we all said yes, so
Okay.
I can just do it, mark all as yes.
Okay.
Or you can mark it.
Yeah, and then save as passed.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, so then now the next item, right, so then this.
Approval of minutes?
Do you hear a
I think technically we
motion
have
been
to,
Move-
we still technically have to
Verbally.
approve the agenda.
Right.
Okay, we haven't done that yet. We approved amending it, but now we need to approve the agenda. So you make a motion to approve the agenda. You don't have to touch anything.
Actually, I think we kind of went through that. I think what you did is approve the amended agenda, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I thought we were-
however you want to do
Yeah.
it. That's fine. That's
It's kind of
how
the
we
same
should do
ends of the
it.
meeting.
Okay. We're at what?
Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes.
Moved approval of the minutes.
Second?
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So then I gotta click on approval of minutes?
Yeah, I'm just voting for you actually on
No,
these.
they voted.
Oh, they
They
did?
voted. They voted.
Okay.
Next.
Well, we voted verbally, but we don't need to vote on this?
No, because in the system, when you vote verbally, they're just saying he's gonna mark all as yet, just to keep
Okay.
it going faster, because you
I
guys
see.
go faster than what this thing is. so
Okay.
it's good.
Okay.
But I think during the council meeting, that will be different.
I
They
think
will
so,
make you
too.
do that, yeah.
We'll have to vote on everything.
It's, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, so
Okay.
now we are on approval of the minutes.
We're on number
Yeah,
6,
keep going.
Yes, we
New
should.
business.
Keep going.
request by Mark.
Here it is.
Okay, now we're on item D1.
Which one do you want to do? Mark, Sam?
We moved 6 up, so that's
So
just 6.
jump to 6. Jump to 6.
Okay. So now I'm all set, correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we are on
Ready for new business?
D6.
Under new business, item 6, initial request, consideration of possible action on the request by Alderman Stoyer to install a red blinker stop sign on westbound Mather Street at North Locust Street due to concerns of safety and traffic flow.
Okay. Would you like to go first, Alderman Stoyer?
Okay, thank you, Chair, thank you, committee. Nice to see you all. Alderman Stoyer, District 10. Boy, I'm going back in time now, but on January 8th, 2013, I believe, was that 13 or 12?
I think it was 12. You talking about the one crash?
Yes. There was a crash on Mather and Locust. It's a T intersection, and the people were altered, so it was kind of a freak accident. But they ran right through the stop sign and plowed headlong into a house, knocking the house completely off its foundation. Nobody got hurt, amazingly. But anyhow, there's a new home that is being built. In fact, I thought Cora was going to be here today, but she works with the Habitat for Humanity. They're building a new house, and she has concerns about traffic along that stretch of Locust. Locust and Platten are two very long roads, and there's a tendency for traffic to speed a little bit along there. Dave, Engineer Hansen and I looked at a study recently, about a year ago, maybe a year and a half, where we looked at Locust and Platten, trying to understand speeds and traffic flow and all that good stuff. Well, the fact is there is a stop sign at Mather, but as far as Locust, that's pretty much a straight shot. Her concern, she came to me, was that, and it sounded to me like she was talking to neighbors, but I haven't gotten a whole lot back from her on this, I'll be honest. I think she was thinking that, if there was a potential to maybe put a flashing stop sign at Mather, that might help alleviate the situation as far as traffic. That's on Mather, however. Traffic generally isn't going as fast on Mather, I think. So her take was that she would like to see a stop sign maybe with more of a visual, an electric type board, if you will. And I was talking to Dave Hansen about this, and he was saying that there really aren't a whole lot of those in the city, correct?
No.
Correct.
I think one of the issues that I have is that the neighbors around there would have to see this all the time. It'd be just flashing. And there's a number of duplexes around there, mostly renters, let's say on either side of Mather. Then single-family homes pretty much along Locust. I told her I would bring this forward, but, Dave Hansen and I actually went out to this intersection, and we kind of drove it and looked at it, and we discussed it, and I trust his judgment on a lot of these matters, but I wanted to bring it forward and just see if there was some thoughts as far as how to handle a situation like this. I think the fact is that it was a real freak accident. The person was altered and they ran through a stop sign. Missed two trees by inches and plowed into a house, so how often does that happen?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So the person was what?
Altered, drunk, high.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with the stop sign. It had to do
Right.
with the condition of the driver.
Right, exactly. So I'm just saying there are many, many T intersections in this community.
Okay.
So it was just the luck of the draw.
So it's,
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So,
but is that the reason she's giving for wanting
Well,
a
I
stop
think-
sign with a flashing
and
light?
I guess, I've talked to her several times, and I thought she would be here tonight. She's not here. The thought would be that there was, because traffic flows fairly quickly, more quickly on Locust than on Mather, I didn't really fully understand her emotion at first. I thought she was looking to maybe have a stop sign on Locust, have it there. But she pretty much was talking about a flashing light.
There is a stop sign on
There is a
Mather
stop
right
sign.
now.
There's
There is
already a
stop
stop
sign.
sign. She wants
But
a
it's a
flashing.
flash, like a flashing light, to say, look, you need to stop. But
Advance warning.
I don't know. I brought it forward, and Dave, if you want to speculate or talk on this too, I'm fine with that.
Is the concern more that it's gonna hit the house again? Because the stop sign, it's a T intersection.
It's a
You'd have
T intersection.
double-headed arrow would be more appropriate on the far side than a stop sign flashing, because you already got a stop sign there, it's a T intersection.
So you're saying that what would you put then? I mean,
He's
A
referring to
night-
what we call a night arrow.
Yeah,
a night arrow?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big sign in somebody's front yard, but there's one on South Point and West Point at Lombardi.
You know,
No,
I'm
actually,
looking-
if I could respond real
Go
quick to that. Our policy on using night arrows, and I don't know if it's different than DOT's, but we normally do not use night arrows when we have stop conditions 1 block away. We think of a night arrow as being in an area where someone's driving a long time without stops. So your example is actually perfect. South Point, West Point, where it tees into it. You're driving for a while along South Point without any stops, and then there's the T intersection. But this one's a little bit different because at Clanton Street, you also have a stop condition. So as motorists are westbound, say from the downtown area, and they're coming there, and they hit Platten, they're stopping, then they go 1 more block, and then it's another stop at a T. So that's a situation where we would say probably a night arrow is actually probably way above what you really need, because it's obvious to the motorist what's about to occur. You can see that stop sign. As a matter of fact, that stop sign is probably, 2-3 months old, I think, Mark? You had brought this forward as an email earlier, and so I went out to the site and looked at it, and I thought, well, I looked at the condition of the stop sign, which looked like it was in pretty decent shape, but at the same time, I'm like, let's just put a brand new one there and make sure it's as bright as can be in the nighttime conditions and as visible during the day as well. And then we also replaced the name of street signs on top of them. So they were actually the smaller style before, and now we have the 9-inch style name of street signs, which are actually quite large. The reason that we wanted to do that was, well, A, that is our new standard, and B, that even draws more attention to the intersection.
Well, I'm just looking at a safety issue there, and maybe it's being manufactured a little bit, but I think the fact that, that property was vacant. I think, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, somebody mentioned that there was another accident at that house some years even before that. I can't bring that forward, but the one accident definitely did happen. And like I said, there's all sorts of accidents that happen throughout a community, and there's a lot of T intersections. So I told her I'd bring this forward, we can talk about it. I don't know, if you put a stop sign on Locust, I mean, David, where are, I'm trying to think where the previous stop sign is south of Locust. I think, isn't it
I think
Kellogg?
it's at Bond, isn't it?
Or is it Bond? So that'd be 1 block, right?
So another, yeah, again, then you got 1 block. I mean,
Right, but then of course you got from Bond and then all the way, it's a pretty straight shot all the way up toward Belt. There might be, I think there's 1 more stop sign.
Right.
And I think that's the concern, because from Bond north, it's kind of it's a wider road too. So traffic does have a tendency, I believe, to go a little quicker there. So I really, do I have a solution? Not exactly. I thought that, I'd bring it forward and talk about a flashing stop sign, but after talking to Dave, when you mentioned that there aren't really any in the city and,
Right. And I guess the bottom line when it comes down to blinker stops, the purpose of a blinker stop is to install them at locations where people are oftentimes running stop signs. And let's say we've tried enforcement, more or less the halo effect is happening where, they'll act like angels when the police are enforcing it, then the police go away, and then they continue to roll the stop. That would be actually a prime candidate. That plus if there was an existing crash history. Now, other than the crash in 2012, I have nothing there. It's actually working fine. And anytime I see an intersection that doesn't have a crash history, I say we're doing something right at that location. Now, the crash that was brought up, the elder's correct that this was an altered person had multiple substances, I believe, within their system, and it had actually taken Mather all the way from Broadway, that whole shot, and right to the end of the road, and they were going over 100 miles an hour.
Jeez.
So yeah, and I actually worked with Brad's predecessor, Lieutenant Ackerman, when it came down to the reconstruction of that. So the first thing I always have to ask is, would the proposed improvement, would that have prevented the crash?
No.
And when you're going 100 miles an hour and you are inebriated, out of your mind, those sorts of things don't come into play. There's really nothing that can change that other than the motorist saying, I'm not driving, and put the keys away. That's the primary way, that, or if that person happened to be pulled over before anything bad could happen. And as we know, neither of those two took place. But the bottom line is with blinker stops, those are there at locations where compliance is poor. The crash history does not indicate that to me. The other thing on this was, and I believe the Alder had mentioned something as well about this, and this came up when we were, during our field evaluation, was that blinker stops flash, and as you can see from this image here, that there's 4 duplexes, so 8 residences within one block that probably will see a red flashing light inside their house at all times. So that being said, is that something that people are really gonna want? I almost think it could produce more problems, and actually Mark would be the first one probably to get them, not me.
Well, I was gonna try to talk to some of the neighbors, but of course, we had a situation the last 2 days, so it didn't really work.
So would an appropriate motion be to receive and place on file, or just to deny? What should we do,
Either or.
Mr. Chair?
I'm fine.
I'd say receive and place on file.
Would
that
you
way.
like to move that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I would like to move to receive and place on file based on the information that we got.
Second.
Okay, can you vote on that, or
Yeah,
do the tablet say that?
it doesn't let us, it's not letting us forward. Unless we have to go back to the agenda.
Oh, adopt. No, it's gonna be this.
Go back to the agenda.
Receive and place on file.
How do we do that? What is it, receive? Okay.
Take care.
Okay, now we vote.
See you next month.
There's the vote.
There it is, sorry.
So,
Then you gotta hit save.
So
Am I voting to?
well, wait a minute, this
No, I
isn't
don't
the
vote,
motion
but-
here.
Unless I'm breaking a tie.
it says yes or no, or
So
abstain.
you can abstain.
Abstain, okay.
Well, what's the?
So are you voting no or
Well,
yes?
it's not-
I'm voting yes.
Right.
But it doesn't
I think
say
that's
to
something
receive
that
and
I have to
place
go
on
through.
file.
No.
When it comes down to the summary minutes, I go and change that then.
But you're.
Okay, so we're not voting to approve it right now if we vote yes.
Right, that was the confusion that I had too, is that it looks like they're
It looks
voting to
like-
approve it, but they're not.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not comfortable voting when it looks like I'm voting to approve it.
You're approving to receive and place on file.
Right, that's not what that says in front of me.
That is confusing, and we're gonna ask him to take that off. Basically, that is just the agenda item.
Agenda item,
Yeah,
got it.
And we want him to take that off and only put the agenda item number on.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody says it's confusing, so.
Because it is,
We're
it looks
sorry.
like, yep.
So what we're gonna do then, well, number one, we have the
Yes.
video, that's our proof of the actual motion, because that's really, I mean, we're summarizing, but the actual video is the motion. Now, what we do then is after the fact, I'm gonna come in and edit this, so I'll actually put it down as the motion was to receive and place on file. So I'll go in and edit, correct?
So Matt, are you voting?
You're abstaining, correct?
Is that what, normally I
have
do
that
not
option.
vote, but I haven't abstained
Oh,
yet.
sure.
So you won't.
Initially,
Why do you not
when you
vote?
signed in, you had the right to be present and not vote, and that's what you probably.
So I should hit that next time,
Yeah,
not vote,
next time,
okay.
sure.
Why would you not
Yeah,
vote?
why would
Yeah.
you
That
not?
was a
Chair's vote.
tiebreaker.
Why?
That's my,
Robert's
that's
rules, that's how we
my
always had
understanding
it.
from,
What, the chair can't vote?
Correct.
On
I don't
every
vote
other
unless it's
committee,
a
I'm on the
tiebreaker.
chair votes.
That's the way we've always done it here.
Really?
You could- I
Okay.
think-
And
we should
they
get a
can't
credit.
entertain motions either.
What did you just say, the chair can't make motions?
Correct.
Okay,
That's
I will
actually-
tell you that no other, I go to all of them. This is the only one that is run that way.
Right.
But if that's how you do it, that's how you do it.
The the thing to remember, Barb, is that the traffic commission, actually, if you read it in our ordinances.
Okay,
They're a standalone committee, they, so if other boards and committees are doing it one way,
okay.
that's the way that they do business. Traffic commission does business the way that we've always done business.
More like city council.
More like city council, and the Roberts rules would be that chairs do not make the motion.
They do, right, you're right. You're
Okay.
right
Per
about
Robert's
that.
rules, so-
Yeah.
and we've
So this,
adopted that
we're
as
running this
traffic
like a
commission.
city council meeting instead of like the other committee meetings. Okay.
Where's guys, you know what?
That's on tape
Wait.
now.
And then my snippet.
Things
I
like
have- I have my-
That's on video.
what's our say?
I don't care.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item,
Next
sir.
item and second.
But you're gonna go
Item
back
one.
to
Oh.
item one.
Why, item one?
Okay, so,
I think we should go back.
Okay, so this one actually, report of the police department, first
I
quarter
didn't see it.
fatalities and serious injury.
So I need to read that. Do I need to read these in now or not?
Yeah, I mean, probably the same.
Probably the same, okay. Item 1, general business report by the police department of the 2018 first quarter serious injury and fatality crashes.
Well, no loss of life, of course, is good news, but I think overall, we all agree that we're doing pretty well in the city of Green Bay. Yes, when it comes to serious injury and fatalities, there was one fatality for the first quarter of 2018. I handed out sheets to all of you. The summary of this, which is basically, I'm just going to read it real quick for the record, is on Sunday, March 25th at 12:37 p.m. Victim bicyclist was struck by a hit-and-run vehicle while traveling west on West Walnut Street, crossing North Oakland Avenue. The victim, who was a 47-year-old male, suffered head trauma and severe internal injuries. He never did regain consciousness from the scene on. The offending vehicle stopped briefly. Two males exited, looked at the victim, and then fled the scene northbound in a white Chevy Equinox, which was shortly thereafter observed by patrol officers driving west on Velp Avenue. Officers attempted to stop the suspect vehicle. The vehicle fled from officers. A short pursuit entailed, I think it was about 1.2 miles. I don't have that written in here. But in any event, it did not end with a crash or anything tragic. The driver actually gave up when he came across officers that had deployed stop sticks out in the roadway. Once that happened, both the driver, who was the 29-year-old male, and the passenger, a 32-year-old male, were arrested for a number of different offenses. Excuse me, the victim passed away 2 days after the crash. So that was the only serious injury or fatal accident report for the entire first quarter of 2018, which, that part I'm happy to report. Questions about anything?
Any questions, Brad?
I think it was publicized pretty heavily
Yeah.
on the
Very
news.
much.
I just have one clarification than anything else. So it was a hit and run. It sounds like the motorist was going just westbound on Walnut, crossing Oakland. So did it say what direction the bicyclist was traveling?
Bicyclist was westbound. The
Oh,
suspect
oh.
vehicle was northbound, not Oakland.
Oh, so they were both in the same, going
Yeah,
the same direction and basically came up behind them.
No.
no,
Northbound
northbound and
vehicle.
westbound.
Oh, northbound
Westbound
vehicle.
bicycle.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, it's all right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Entertain a motion.
Motion to receive. That's in file.
Motion made and second.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, now I gotta do,
We're doing it faster than Dave.
This is your
okay.
report.
Oh, do I-
Then, next,
Sidewalk study.
all right. All right,
Did we vote on that item?
Yeah, you took a voice vote,
Vote.
voice vote, and to speed up the process, he can vote all yes instead of you going to.
Okay, so we don't have to,
So
okay.
stuff like that, you can just do a voice
All right,
vote, he'll
okay.
mark them all as yes.
Okay,
Okay.
That's how committees are doing it. Again, you can do whatever you like.
okay, no, that's fine. I'm good with Dave doing that. Anybody got any?
that's kind of how we
No,
did it
that's-
before anyway. And I think when,
Yeah.
when we have items where we have a split, then we go do the vote, and I think that's what we'll probably end
Okay,
up doing.
fair enough.
Okay.
2, initial request, consideration of possible action, request by Alderman Dorf and Alderman Dwayne to do a sidewalk study to have sidewalks installed on East Mason Street from Main Street to the I-43 Business Park on both sides of the street.
Do you want me to talk to that?
Yeah, actually, I do have some things to bring
Wait, go ahead.
forward, but actually, I was kind of hoping to hear
The reason?
reasons behind everything.
It was,
before I-
a lot of it has to do with the kids walking to school, walking to Edison. So, and then connecting that business park with the other side from, under the hallway. So East Mason from Main to the I-43 Business Park, we just are looking at having more of a flow of pedestrian traffic.
Okay. Now, I noticed this was actually, there's Alderman Tom Dwayne was also part of this. Do you know if he had any sort of opinion or reason?
This request came to me from Alder Dwayne.
Oh, okay.
And this, he asked if I would support that, because it's not in my district.
Right.
But, based on the safety of the kids walking to school. And I am quite aware that they're doing that Safe Routes to School plan, and this may become all part of that. So I don't mind if we postpone this, but if you had some feedback on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I can weigh in some, I just gathered some existing information just so we have an idea of the magnitude of this request, and you know, and everyone else here present tonight does. So give me a few minutes here and I'll just run over a few things on this. So the actual study request area is actually about 2 miles in length. So where you see the V on the map, that's actually the intersection of Main and Mason. So it'd be this entire stretch along here. This push button is about midpoint. And then actually going to this intersection here, Challenger, because I had heard mentioned about, you know, crossing to the I-43 Business Center from the neighborhood. So I would say technically the study limits would be Challenger to Main Street. Now there are some short segments of sidewalk within that area, namely when the DOT came through a few years back for an improvement project at the interchange, they added some sidewalk as part of that. And then also there's a short segment on the north side of Mason Street between Main Street and Bader Street. So that's actually just this little short segment here. There are some crossroads too that have sidewalks that approach approach Mason Street, but then obviously they're there to cross Mason Street, not necessarily to intersect any sort of parallel or crossing sidewalks. Now, the roadway section itself is what we call an urban or curb and gutter type section, all the way up to East Town Way. That would be this signalized intersection here that I'm showing on the map. And then from here on out, with the exception again of over by the interchange, it's actually what we consider a shoulder ditch section. So you've got a forward slope and then a back slope and then a right-of-way line. So typically your right-of-way is wider in those areas. However, that does have a challenge for us when it comes down to placing sidewalk. Because sidewalk is typically placed closer to the right-of-way line. I mean, a lot of times what our rule of thumb would be is go 6 inches off that right-of-way line in. So as you know, there is a lot of residential backage over here. There's no access. And you'll have backage, and there's a lot of fencing along there as well. So if sidewalk were ever installed, it would actually be along that fence line. And given that we've got the slopes to the ditch, we'd have to find ways to get across that. And then in order to meet ADA requirements, a lot of that would actually have to be built with retaining walls, which could get quite expensive. The other thing to also consider as part of this is that any area that's got a backage to it, which is a large part of what this request is. I mean, really everything from Challenger through the interchange and through Edgewood, and then really up until you get to the mall, this is all backage. That means that it would actually be the city who would actually furnish and install that sidewalk and maintain it. So like if we have the storm over the weekend, we'd be responsible for plowing that and making sure that it's free of ice. So that becomes a maintenance item forever, in essence, for Public Works and our operations staff. So I just wanted to throw a few of those items out there before I guess any sort of discussion took place. I mean, obviously I think the reasons for the request, I think, are very founded. You know, the one thing that we do when it comes down to these studies, we like to listen to what those request reasons are and then see if we can find them actually occurring in the field. So something like this, a study would have to take place still during the school year, which, as we know, we're getting towards the end of the school year, yet we still got a lot of snow, so we want to see the snow gone and then conduct the study while
And I think
school's taking
school's
place.
probably gonna go till July anyway.
Yeah.
We'd have plenty of time.
They added 3 minutes to the
So,
days.
Now
They're
they
making
have
up
to
one
add
day
it.
now, but
so that being said, it's on an arterial street. You know, arterial streets really should have sidewalks. You do have schools nearby, so there's a lot of reasons for having sidewalks. And then there's also, I think, a share of reasons as well that will propose some challenges to the city as well.
Would you need it on both sides of the road?
It's preferable to
Preferable.
have, yeah, on arterial streets, it's always a preference to have sidewalk on both sides. I mean, it doesn't mean that you
Yeah,
could
I'm
just
just
install it on one side, I'm not saying that's,
Yeah.
but it's preferable when the sidewalk is installed on arterial that it would be both sides.
So the kids from Edison walking down to the East Town Mall area, is that what it's,
Well, or home back across,
on
they're
the other side?
they're just, yeah, my reports have been that kids are, walking on the street or close to the street, and they probably are.
Like walking on the shoulder.
Probably walking on the shoulder to get there. It's that 2-mile rule, you live within 2 miles, you're walking to school. But Dave, I know they're doing the Safe Routes to School study, so I'm very willing to put, hold on this and to see if what comes up through that study.
Right, yeah, and, all those schools that you mentioned that are in proximity to this corridor would be studied, and,
Wow.
the requests such as this easily would be part of that. Now, what we're doing, there's a lot of requests that have come in since we knew that this plan was gonna take place. So what I plan on doing, and I'm just kind of keeping a running list
Okay.
of these type of items, that when we have our kickoff meeting with the consultant, which should be taking place very soon,
Okay.
that these are just gonna be brought forward to them as
Perfect.
in, okay, since this plan's happened, these are the number of requests, here they are. We ask that you at least address them as part of your study.
So would that be an appropriate motion to refer to the study? Or
You could probably just say, refer to staff, because then you're
Okay.
referring it to us, and then we're gonna take it through the process.
Okay.
And if you wanted to elaborate why you're receiving it on placement, or referring to staff, to forward to Safe Routes to School consultant or something like
Okay.
that.
Mhm.
That
That's
would
what
be
I'll say.
appropriate as
Yeah.
well.
I would like to move that I refer this to staff and to be included in the Safe Routes to School study.
Second?
Motion been made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Right, I think that everyone is in favor of that, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes? Okay, well, that's right, I'll sorry, have more than one item, but I guess we're on number 3.
Did he talk to you about this one? Or-
Yes, yeah, I can give you an update on that.
All right. 3, initial request. Consideration with possible action on the request of Eldon Store to study the traffic signal timings at Clement Street and University Avenue, and Riviera Lane and University Avenue.
Yeah, I'll bring this up on the map, up on the screens, so you can see the area of consideration. So these 2 push pins are actually 2 relatively new signalized intersections. They are part of this Festival Foods and Quick Trip development on the east side. So prior to that, that development, those signals didn't exist. They were, Clement actually came in at a different angle, and it wasn't reconfigured. It was a lot different a little over a year ago. So when I actually went out in the field with Mark, same time we went out and saw that Mather Locust item, and I asked him what exactly was the concern. And he had stated that he knows the people that own Riviera Lanes. So Riviera Lanes, if you don't know, is this building, I believe it's this one right here, is it? Or no, right here, this is Riviera Lanes. So they have this long driveway that comes up to this, which is really technically still University Avenue. We call it Riviera Lane for lack of a better term, but it technically is University. So we really have a University Avenue meets University Avenue intersection. So, but again, just for simplicity, we call it Riviera. So he had stated that the owners, when he was talking to them, were complaining about too long of wait time at the traffic signal. So I had to explain to him how we operate the signals. So the signals are operated in what we call a time of day or progression mode. Not all the time. We only run that during, the core parts of the day. And it's actually a quite the limited amount of time. As a matter of fact, we run the time of day program from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Fridays, and 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturdays. Now, outside of that time, we run them what we call free. It's more like a real-time demand around the intersection. So kind of first come, first serve, and you can extend green times, things like that, if your headway is close enough. So anyway, just in general, what we have for those split times, we've got 90-second cycles at both of these. And at Clement, we have roughly a 60-30 split, meaning you have 60 seconds on University and 30 for Clement. And it's not much different at Riviera. We have 55 and 35, so it's really just a 5-second difference, a little bit more on Riviera. Now, that doesn't mean that every cycle they're going to get the 30 seconds on the side street or the 35 seconds that they get. There's a min and max time, and they have up to that 30 seconds or 35 seconds. So as traffic moves along, it extends the green time, and when the traffic basically goes down to a trickle or there's a lot of headway, then it goes yellow and red, and then it goes back to green on University. Now that, again, remember, is just during the day for the most part, those times that I stipulated. Other than that, it's a real-time demand, and that wait time really shouldn't be much, and if it is, that just means that there's constant traffic that's happening on University. And there are max timers in there as well. I mean, it's not going to indefinitely extend until University dies down. There will be maximum times where it would automatically shut it down and give that side street some green time. So our opinion on something like this is that given the proximity of these three signals, this is actually a signalized intersection as well, Sturgeon Bay and University. These are very close signals, and anytime you have that high volume of traffic going along and you have a close spacing of signals, you'll actually probably get failure throughout the day and spill back to those other intersections if you don't run them in a time of day or coordinated mode. So I highly recommend against any consideration of taking them out of this coordinated mode during the day. I think it's essential for proper traffic and safe and efficient traffic flow through that area. So I believe the request had talked about safety and traffic flow. Maybe I don't have. Study the traffic flow, but we don't have any sort of a crash or safety issue that's happening out there, and I think really the timing plan that is out there is working, and I see really no reason to change it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I live out there. I'm on that street almost on a daily basis. Initially, I did get lots of complaints and completely have gone away. I think that that's running well. I can speak to using that stoplight and the next one, and I don't see any problem. And I'm no longer getting complaints from Humboldt, from people coming down from Humboldt, which I was initially, and things were tweaked and things did get way better. So I don't see a problem, and I live right out there.
Yeah, a lot of what I remember when those complaints were coming in, a lot of that was during the construction when the barrels were out there. And as many of you know, it took place over 2 construction seasons.
Right.
And those barrels were out there last winter, which was, a lot of people were real happy about that. But that actually lended to some of the issues at the time, just because we had reduced capacity, things like that. But now with everything open, everything's working as planned, and like I had said, I even went out there with the Alder and we watched both of these intersections, and that was the one thing that we were watching was that side street, and just to make sure that all that traffic was going, that we weren't seeing any sort of undue delay where there's a bunch of traffic stacked on those side streets with no traffic on University. I mean, it was flowing just like it should. So yeah, I actually with this I would say receive and place on file.
Okay.
And I would probably be
Motion been made by Chuck.
Motion.
Second.
Second, motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
What was it? The actual motion?
Receive and place on
Place and
file.
place on file, and then go through here, and we can do the voice vote. Mark all as yes, save as passed, and then right here. All right. Number 4.
Just a question, so as soon as you hit the yes there for the boats, if I hit details, should the next motion come up then?
Your details will bring you back to the agenda item. If you click details, and then if you click the current item, or details again, yeah, it just brings you back to the current item.
Okay, what if I want to go to the next item, how would,
Click
I think
agenda.
you just hit it, you touch it.
Oh,
I think you gotta touch the item.
Yeah, if you touch the item, then it'll come up.
under,
Number 4, is it?
Mhm.
If you touch it, there, came up.
That's right.
do you want to go to the next agenda item?
okay, so item 4, initial request, consideration with possible action on the request by Alderman Moore to establish designated loading zones and delivery hours for downtown businesses and to seek input from downtown Green Bay Incorporated and local business owners. Excuse me.
Oh, you know why? Because they're over here. They're here.
So what do you-
Okay,
What are you hitting next?
what I'm gonna show
I'm just hitting
to you on the
up here.
display is actually
Okay.
a map of
Alright.
the loading zones in our downtown. So what you can see here, I mean, in that sense, when we say downtown loading zones, where we usually get the highest amount of demand and request and clarification on downtown loading is really off of that Washington Street corridor between Main Street and Walnut. That is really the hot spot. That's where all that redevelopment has occurred over the last number of years. As you know, we've had tall buildings, banks, things like that keep built. So with that said, you can see from this, everything you see in red is really no parking, really no allowance. And a lot of that, like Cherry Street and Pine Street, they're just narrow roadways that were never intended to have parking on them in the first place, so that's why you see that. You can even see, here's the alleyway between Pine and Cherry, right behind City Deck, which is actually a no stopping or standing area, just because you can't, if you stop and stand there, you can't get any traffic through it. It's a one-way alley. So, that said, you can see these areas that are highlighted in with a red dash and orange. These are loading zones that are established in our downtown. And actually, there's another one, it's hard to see right here, but there's actually one on City Deck as well. This is actually a 30-minute loading, so as you can see right off of here, we've got 1, 2, 3, and actually there's a meter in here which gets used as loading quite often, 4, 5 of them really in this immediate area. Now, I know the request talks about getting DGBI involved and some of the business owners involved. I can tell you that over the years that I've been here and we've established these as part of the redevelopment, we did seek the input of business owners and DGBI. They represent a lot of these business owners as well. But these, in an area that has such a high demand for parking and loading, there's only so many spots that you can have for that. And so as these blocks would get developed, we looked at the businesses, we looked at the type of business that they would have, and we would install these loading zones that we thought would be most used, most practical. So that's what you really see, that's right here. Now, I know that there are some businesses downtown that, they have been the recipients of tickets, citations for going and loading in the wrong place. And a lot of times, from what I've seen and heard from Parking Division, is that they'll just plunk right down on Washington Street, right in the middle of the traffic lane, and do their loading and unloading. Well, not only that's not an approved location, but they're blocking travel lanes, so it's really not a safe location. So every time they come in and complain to us about it, we just refer them back to here and say, look, these businesses have ample areas for loading and unloading, so if they don't like it, I guess I can't really weigh in on what's popular or unpopular, but we have to regulate all these parking zones. I mean, we got meters involved here, we've got no stop understanding because we've got narrow roadways, things like that. So, you know, parking on street and widths and everything, it's all at a high premium in this downtown area. So, I mean, you can even see here, this is a full block worth. I mean, that's, to me, that's a lot. That's a lot of area to be loading and over here, and they get used, and they get used.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
was there a specific area that the alders were asking for? This is kind of a broad request. Was there a place?
No, Alderman Moore did not contact me relative to this, or
Or is
I didn't
it-
receive anything more specific regarding, you know, what it is. My guess is that there is one business I know, well, it's really more of a delivery, I think it's a beer delivery or beverage delivery company that has received some tickets in the past, and I know that recently, as in like within the last couple of weeks, there's been meetings held between parking division and prominent people within that company to try to work things out. And from my understanding, that there's been some sort of an understanding now that, okay, these are the safe places to load and unload, and this is what we have to offer in our downtown. Anything else that would, you know, we'd be looking at removing metered zones and everything that are obviously needed for business and customers. So I think we have our downtown right size when it comes down to loading zones, and we really don't see a need to change them at this point in time. And typically, it's only just one or two businesses where we have, you know, some I'm not too happy with citations, but I can tell you what, I've probably got 2 to 3 times the number of businesses that complain about where they are and they're doing their loading and unloading activity, asking us to cite them. So the business owners they get upset about that, and I think this is just a matter of training some of these companies and these newer drivers on where these zones are.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think this is a very, very broad request. I agree with Alder Dorf. I would like to make a motion that we receive and place on file.
Second.
And simply, I would add on to that, that we only bring this back if there's a specific complaint.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, nothing, this is covering the whole downtown.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item 5. That's going to be item 5, initial request, consideration with possible action on request by Alderman Zim on behalf of area residents to establish a 4-way stop condition at South Norwood Avenue and Victory Boulevard.
So I'm going to show you on the map where this is, just so you have some idea. This is Lombardi Avenue, or VK right here, and 32 is Ashland, so this is a signalized intersection. Many of you know this is Dino Stop right here. So it's really one intersection to the north right now. It's a 2-way stop condition. Victory stops for Norwood, so the north-south movement is free flow, and the east-west is stop condition. So in essence, it's really, I mean, you have these frontage roads here, but as motorists are coming off of Ashland, it's really the first primary intersection that they encounter. At this point in time, you know, all I can really look at is to see if there's a crash history at the location. I could not find any crashes that have taken place at the intersection. I've watched the intersection, actually Brad and I have watched the intersection, and it's kind of a trickle, you know. I mean, you can wait there for minutes before vehicles come up. 4-way stops, not only we're required to at least have an engineering study conducted to at least provide the committee and council with a recommendation. So that's what my standard is as an engineer. At least I need to have the engineering study to at least say yes or no to whether or not we would approve of one based off of multi-way stop warrants. But then I look at this and say, is this even really a good logical location for it? And usually it's 4-way stops, you have about the same amount of traffic, and it's for right-of-way assignment. And we didn't see any sort of question on who had right-of-way assignment at this intersection at all. So
Move to receive and place on file.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 7, referred back from study. Consideration of possible action on request by Alderman Slavic to discuss measures to improve pedestrian safety for crossing Packland Drive at the intersection with Hednisfer Lane.
Okay, I'm gonna bring this up on the map. So just so you know, Packerland Drive is a county highway. The intersection in question here is one south of the signalized intersection of West Point Road and Packerland Drive. This is designated as a school crossing. So first thing we want to do again is look at, see if there's any sort of a safety crash history at that location, especially as it comes to pedestrians. We did not find any sort of safety record or anything like that at the intersection. During my field visit initially on this, I had noticed, especially for the south-facing sign, because there are pedestrian crossing signs, or the school pedestrian crossing signs with down arrow in both directions at that location, where there's also a painted crosswalk. And looking at it, the south-facing sign, in my opinion, was a little on the faded side, so it had probably been there a long time. And that's very typical and common, that as signs age, the first ones to go are the ones that are south-facing. So I did see that as part of this. It is a multi-lane divided facility. So when I looked it up in the METCD, I also would recommend larger signs at this location. But I'll go back to my initial statement that this is a county highway and it's technically not our signing jurisdiction, but rather Brown County Public Works. So that being said, I called their sign shop and I contacted their sign lead worker and had a discussion with them about this being at our city's traffic commission, and that there was some concern about it, and that I looked into it, and that my recommendations for the location would actually be to replace the worn signs and actually upgrade the size of them for them, and they agreed to do that. So
Right.
I would say that it's mission accomplished, and something along the lines of receive and place on file, because there's already an action in place. So it would be appropriate.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to receive and place on file.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's see, item 8, refer back from study, consideration of possible action on request by Alderman Moore to study pedestrian safety issues at Green Bay Packaging on Madison Street.
Now, as part of the meeting packet and agenda, I had attached the study. I don't know if it necessarily got there in time because I was learning the system a little bit on the new side, so the attachment should have been there. If not, I do have the electronic version that I can put up on screen. It's actually a quite short report. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in essence, tell you shortly what my recommendation is. And if you recall, we had an item real similar to this, like I think it was 1 or 2 meetings ago, over by Georgia Pacific and South Broadway. If you recall, there was the pedestrian crossing and a request for RRFB, the rectangular rapid flash beacon. Well, I'll tell you, these are very similar in nature. They're both mid-block crossings. They're both already marked. But I did, through my evaluation, find some things that I would actually go ahead and upgrade. Now, I did run it through what I would call like the flasher or the beacons or the RFB type of warrants. The city, in Public Works, we've been using the City of Boulder's crossing policy. It's one that we thought was quite relevant when it came down to RFB and flashing lights. So I ran it through that criteria, and it did not arrive with the conclusion that an RRFB or another blinker system would be appropriate. The reason being is that it's not that they don't have pedestrian traffic that crosses, it's that the traffic is so light on the actual road that it provides enough gaps in traffic to not necessitate the need for any sort of blinking lights that would be ped actuated. So that being said, my recommendation in this case is to just like the Broadway study, would be to double up the pedestrian signs with the down arrow. Currently, we only have the one on the right side of the down arrow, so we go 2 in each direction. So in essence, you're going back to back. And then about roughly 200 feet in advance, we place the warning sign. So rather than seeing the one sign assembly, they'd be seeing 3 sign assemblies in each direction. I think that's probably the most appropriate measure at this point in time. And based off our field visit, we didn't experience any of the things that were brought up initially when this was brought forward to Traffic Commission at the meeting when it was referred to staff for study. They had talked about, some yield compliance and, people going around other people that were stopped, and we evaluated this for multiple sessions. We didn't just do one peak, we looked at multiple shift changes and everything. We did not encounter that as part of our study, which is, again, reason being why what we're seeing in this case is, with some of the sign improvements that I recommended, that we feel like that's the most appropriate.
Okay, move to receive and place on file.
Motion been made, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Could I point out, Mr. Chair, that new alder, Craig Stevens, just entered a little while ago, and he will be on the Traffic Commission in the very near future.
Welcome, Alder
Lucky
Stevens.
guy.
So, just wanted to point out he was here in the room with us.
And we're gonna miss you.
Well, we're not at the end of the meeting yet. Don't miss me
We don't want to cry yet, Dave.
yet. No, got a couple more items.
Okay, 9 and 10 are trial terminations. You want to
Correct.
do them together, Dave?
Both 9 and 10 are they're related. One is the removal of an old zone, and number 10 is going to be the installation of the zone. And all that this was, if you recall, this was the loading issue that they had over at Jackson Elementary. So it was on the south side of the road here, and this is something that both the school district and the bus company Lamers were in support of. And Public Works, we were in support of it, given that they would actually get the word out, through school bulletins, get the word out to the parents that, we can't be watching this 24/7, 365 to get some voluntary compliance. And then also that we understand it's a pretty tight zone, that 2 buses only can fit in there, and we don't want to have buses trying to pull in when there's vehicles in the way, and then they actually start impeding the traffic flow, which actually, when I watched this at the early onset of it, that's what I had found. So I'd actually worked with Lamers and worked with the school to work out a system so that if the bus cannot fit into there, they actually go around the block and they radio to the other one when there's going to be room to fit. So they actually came back and mitigated the situation, and I did go check it afterwards after they had that in place, and it seems to be working. So I think this was mission accomplished. So my recommendation for items 9 and 10 is to adopt by ordinance.
So moved.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That was Dan, and who seconded?
Chuck.
Chuck.
Your informational report by the traffic engineer about multi-jurisdictional bicycle and pedestrian crosswalk enforcement on Wednesday, May 9th.
Okay. So did you,
I read the item,
Okay,
yes, go
right.
ahead. Yep.
so anyway, what this is we were approached by the city of Pier, by their Public Works Department, and they wanted to get together this national, or this citywide or multi-jurisdictional Green Bay metro area bicycle and pedestrian crosswalk enforcement effort. Last year, they actually started this. It was something that kind of happened real quick and everything last year, so the city did not participate in that. However, we learned about this a little bit earlier this year, and so they have themselves, the Village of Howard and UWGB Campus Police, and now I understand at least on a limited level, is going to the city of Green Bay. And when I say limited, it's still going to be crosswalk enforcement, from what I understand. It's just not going to be what we call our Operation Frogger, which I guess maybe now is a good time for Brad to maybe weigh in a little bit.
Right, well, the Frogger operation was really based on a grant that Carl Ackerman received from the state a number of years back. We actually haven't done that, another one since 2015. So when we talk about doing pedestrian and bike safety enforcement, we're still able to do a very good job of that without dedicating the number of people that it's required. We were actually working in conjunction with UWGB, and I want to say one other agency, maybe the Sheriff's Department. I wasn't really in the traffic world back then. But in any event, I reached out to Eric Rakers, spoke with him, and agreed that we are interested in participating. I'm going to have 2 additional officers on, along with the 2 traffic officers that normally would be working. And we're going to put together, and I haven't done it yet exactly, what the operations plan is going to be specifically, but it will be a crosswalk, safe route, bike safety, and that's assuming you don't get another 2 feet of snow.
That's
We won't need
true.
any of those guys if you like this outside, but I'm definitely gonna have a deployment out there. We're participating, we're working together, and Eric was real happy with the fact that we were just gonna be a part of it this year. And at the next meeting, I'll be able to report what specifically we did, and if you're interested in what type of enforcement education we were able to accomplish, so.
Are you getting any media help with that?
Typically, media gets involved with this. I mean, that's part of the effort, you know, right now, prior to the event, that there's groups like Live 54218 and other advocates in the area that will make that outreach. And my presumption is, and I didn't hear specifically from DePere, but I would presume that they would probably want to contact the media. And then, you know, once they say who's all going to be involved, then I'll take the next phone call. They think it could be Brad or
Yeah, good work.
and his counterparts at these other agencies.
Yeah, it's a good springtime story for them, I would think, to.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do
Refresh your
believe
mind.
that they had something last year, now that you say that.
There was quite a bit out, because it was my district, where a lot of my people are getting tickets. So I heard a real lot about
That
Operation
was over
Frogger.
by GBS, okay,
Yep.
now I remember.
It
That's
was.
why it was.
There was quite the media too.
Yeah,
We'll pick
All
another
right.
parts.
Do we need to receive and place that on file, Dave, that
that'd be
report?
appropriate.
Okay.
Move to receive and place on file.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. F, next meeting date, Monday, May 21st, 2018, 5:30 PM, room 207, so. With that, I'll
Motion to
entertain a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn. If
Second.
motion been made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Now, do we have to leave the meeting? Like, do we go back and push that, leave the meeting button? I'll leave it, leaving it now.
So if you hit
Sure,
agendas
yes,
again,
I-
lead meeting pops up.
Okay.
Oh, Jim.
Yes, I
Yep, you gotta do that.
am sure.
Who owns them?
What did I, okay, go back to
Oh, so
agenda.
then,
Okay.
to adjourn. so-
It's like-
You guys remember who adjourned the meeting?
You can do it tomorrow.
Dan
Oh,
made
leave
the
me.
motion, I seconded it.
Dan, Chuck,
Everybody
No.
unanimously.
No, you're wrong.
Where did you go?
Now, do we shut these off?
where did you go,
Go
Barb?
back to, go to the top, go to agendas,
Okay,
and then leave
Leave
meeting,
meeting, okay.
and then you have to say yes.
all right, perfect.
Now, do we turn these things off?
You don't get to keep them, right? You have to.
I would think they're-
They'll take care of it.
So if there's nothing that popped in.
We turned
okay,
them
so
in.
now go ahead.
Yeah, I think you just turn them in over there. This will be good eventually.
Oh, yeah, I think it's
But I think
great.
I'm gonna have a big notebook, because when you take notes, I tried to take notes,
Oh,
just take
yeah.
notes, okay? The typing screen covers